The rain fell in sheets that November night, turning the city into a blur of neon and shadow. Anna clutched her grocery bag closer, the plastic handles cutting into her palm, as she hurried across the bridge. She was thinking about whether she had enough eggs for breakfast when she saw him. A figure stood at the railing, hands gripping the wet metal, body leaning forward in a way that made her stomach drop. She'd seen that posture before, in a mirror 3 years ago. "Hey!" The word ripped from her throat. She dropped her bag and ran, catching his arm just as he let go. He looked up at her, and even through the rain, she could see his expression. Not startled, but annoyed, like she'd interrupted something private. "Don't," she said, breathless, her hand holding onto his wet arm desperately. "Please, don't." "Let me go." His voice was quiet, refined, utterly calm. That scared her more than tears would have. "Please, please hold on." Anna's fingers tightened on his soaked sleeve as she leaned over the railing. The cold metal bit into her stomach, but she didn't care. "I won't let go. Do you hear me? Please take my hand. I'm begging you. Don't do this." He looked at her then. Something flickered across his face. Maybe surprise or recognition. "Why do you care?" he asked. She took a deep breath. She couldn't support his weight for much longer. Her hands were already beginning to slip. "Because it's not 100% guarantee that you'll get what you want. Because years ago, I was standing where you are." She didn't let go. He took her offered arm. She pulled with all her might. They tumbled onto the cold pavement. The rain poured between them, and for a long moment, neither moved. Then his shoulders sagged just slightly, and she knew she had brought him back. His name was Adrian Cole, though she didn't learn that until after she'd walked him to an all-night diner, after she'd bought him terrible coffee that he drank anyway, after he'd stopped shaking. Anna studied him carefully. His name was familiar, though she couldn't tell why. "You're famous, aren't you?" She was certain she had seen him somewhere. "What do you do for a living?" "Does it matter?" he asked, without looking up from his coffee. "I guess not." She'd stirred her coffee, watching the cream swirl. "Money doesn't make you waterproof, apparently." He almost smiled at that. Over that first coffee, he told her about the heart condition he'd been born with, the ticking time bomb in his chest that was finally running out of time, about the surgery scheduled for 2 weeks from now, experimental, expensive, with a coin flip's chance of success. "So you'd rather choose," Anna said softly, "than let chance decide." "Wouldn't you?" he asked, without looking up from his coffee. She thought of the bridge 3 years ago, of the stranger who talked her down with nothing but patience and terrible jokes. "No," she said finally, "I wouldn't. Because that 50%, it's also a 50% chance you live. That's worth fighting for." "Why?" His question was genuine, like he wanted her to explain why he should fight the inevitable. "I don't know yet, but I'd like to find out. With you, maybe, if you'll let me." He studied her, this girl with wet hair plastered to her face, wearing a coat that had seen better years, looking at him like he was worth saving. "I don't even know your name." "Anna. Anna Martin." She held out her hand across the table. "Let me show you something." The next morning, she met him at the subway station. He arrived in an expensive sports car, looking uncomfortable in jeans she suspected he'd bought specifically for this. No destination, he confirmed, eyeing the metro map with suspicion. No destination, Anna agreed, pulling him toward the turnstile. We get off when something looks interesting. They rolled the orange line to the end, then switched to the blue. Adrian watched the other passengers with the fascination of an anthropologist discovering a new tribe. A mother corralling 3 children, teenagers laughing over a shared phone, an elderly man with a violin case humming to himself. You've never just ridden the subway before? I've been on subways in Tokyo, London, New York, but always going somewhere specific. He glanced at her. This is different. This is aimless. Aimless is underrated, she said. They got off at a stop neither recognized and walked until they found the ocean. The beach was empty, gray sky bleeding into gray water, and Anna kicked off her shoes immediately. You're not serious, Adrian said, but she was already running toward the waves. The water was freezing. Anna shrieked when the first wave crashed over her ankles, then laughed, then shrieked again as she ran back up the sand. Your turn! I'm not, he started. Adrian Cole, are you afraid of a little ocean? Something shifted in his expression. Challenge accepted. He removed his shoes with careful precision, rolled up his expensive jeans, and walked toward the water with the dignity of a man approaching a business negotiation. The wave that hit him was not dignified. It soaked him to the waist and sent him stumbling backward. And the sound he made, surprise and indignation and something that might have been joy, made Anna double over laughing. It's cold, he shouted, but he was grinning. And when the next wave came, he didn't run. He let it crash into him, then turned and chased Anna back up the beach, both of them dripping and freezing and alive. The days went by quickly after that. Anna had 2 weeks off from her job at the bookstore, scheduled vacation she'd been saving for months, and suddenly, those 2 weeks had a purpose. She introduced him to street snacks from a cart that looked questionable but tasted like heaven. They ate while walking through night markets, and Adrian, who dined at Michelin-starred restaurants on 4 continents, declared the $10 sandwich the best thing he'd ever eaten. It's not the food, Anna said, licking mayonnaise from her thumb. It's the moment, the context, the fact that we're here, now, together. Is that your philosophy? Live in the moment? He asked. It's my survival strategy. She crumpled her napkin, suddenly serious. After my attempt, after I decided to stay, I couldn't think about forever. Forever was terrifying. So I learned to think about now. Just now. This moment. And then the next one. And the next. Adrian was quiet for a block. Does it work? I'm still here, aren't I? On the 6th night, they watched the moon from the roof of her apartment building. Anna had brought blankets and thermos of hot chocolate, and they lay side by side as the city hummed below them. Tell me something you've never told anyone, Anna said. Adrian was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I'm afraid it won't hurt, the surgery. Dying, I mean. I'm afraid I'll just stop, and there won't be anything after. No pain, no peace, just nothing. Anna reached for his hand in the darkness. Is that why you were on the bridge? To make it hurt? To make it mean something? Maybe. His fingers tightened around hers. What about you? What are you afraid of? She watched the moon, nearly full, glowing against the dark. I'm afraid of forgetting how to choose this, how to choose life, because it is a choice every day, and some days it's harder than others. Is today hard? He asked, squeezing her hand gently. No, she replied honestly. Today is easy. They stayed until dawn, watching the moon set and the sun rise, and when the first light touched the buildings around them, Adrian turned to look at her. Thank you, he said simply. For what? She asked, confused. For making me want to see tomorrow. The night before his surgery, they returned to the bridge where they'd met. The rain had stopped, leaving the city washed clean and gleaming. I've been thinking, Adrian said, leaning against the railing where he'd once planned to end everything. About after, about what comes next. Anna's heart was beating too fast. Adrian, he turned to face her fully. These 2 weeks with you have been the most vivid days of my life. Everything we did together felt more than simple activities. The subway rides and the waves and the moon. He paused. You, Adrian, she whispered. I want more days like this. I want to survive tomorrow. He took Anna's hand, the gesture still feeling new and precious. I want you to be my girlfriend, officially, but I want you to give me your answer after the surgery, when I make it through, because I'm going to make it through. Anna felt tears on her cheeks, hot against the cool night air. Of course you will. I'll see you again, he said firmly. For the first time in my life, I have a reason to fight, so I will. And then you'll give me your answer, and we'll have all the time in the world to ride aimless subways and chase waves and watch the stars. She wanted to say yes right then. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. But she understood what he was doing, giving himself something to hold on to in the operating room, a future to fight toward. So instead, she stood on her toes and kissed him, soft and sweet, and full of all the yeses she'd say tomorrow. Ask me again, she whispered against his lips. After. I will, he promised. The surgery was scheduled for 6 a.m. Anna arrived at the hospital at 5, her hands shaking as she signed in as next of kin, a lie Adrian had arranged so she could be there. She held his hand as they prepped him, watched as they wheeled him away, stayed in the waiting room, counting tiles and breathing in rhythm. 6 hours. 8. 10. 12 hours later, the doctor came out, and Anna knew from his face before he said a word. The surgery had started well. Adrian's new heart was strong, healthy, functioning exactly as it should. But there had been complications, a bleed they couldn't stop, and despite their best efforts, Anna stopped hearing words after that. The letter was delivered to her apartment a week later by Adrian's lawyer. His handwriting was precise, beautiful, so completely him that seeing it hurt. Anna, if you're reading this, I didn't make it to hear your answer. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for a lot of things. But mostly, I'm sorry I won't get to have more days with you. But I need you to know something. Those 2 weeks were worth everything. Every moment, every breath, every wave and moon and subway ride to nowhere. You taught me that life isn't about duration. It's about depth, about being fully present in each moment, however brief. I died wanting to live. That's the gift you gave me, not survival, but the desire for it. You made me want tomorrow, even though I won't see it. So here's my last request. Keep choosing. Keep chasing waves. Keep watching moons set and suns rise. Fall in love again with someone who deserves you more than a dying man on a bridge. And if you ever doubt whether any of this mattered, remember, you saved my life the night we met. The fact that it was brief doesn't make it less saved. Love isn't measured in years. All my borrowed days were spent with you. I wouldn't change a single one. Yours, Adrian. P.S. I never got to hear your answer, but I think I knew it anyway. Thank you for that too. Anna returned to work at the bookstore. She rode the subway with no destination in mind. She chased waves at the beach, ate street snacks, watched the moon set and the sun rise. Some days were harder than others. Some days she stood on the bridge and cried for what was lost. But she chose. Every morning, every moment, she chose. And when people asked about the locket she wore, simple silver, containing a photo of a man smiling like he'd just discovered something wonderful, she told them about 2 weeks that changed everything. About a love that bloomed in the space between despair and hope, and how even brief connections can echo forever. She chose life. Every single day, she chose it. For herself. For the stranger who'd saved her 3 years ago. And for Adrian, who'd finally wanted to live, right up until the end.